you want, what you want.
Hello, Troublemakers out there. I'm Matt Catling, and this is the next disruption session where we interview the biggest troublemakers we can find. We answer your questions to help you get disruptive in life and business. Now, let's get started. Matt here for the next disruption session. I hope everyone is well. And I wanted to start off by talking about performance in this disruption session, because I think really that's what everyone is here for. How do we increase our performance? How do we take it to the next level? If you look at it at the top level, athletes, entrepreneurs, it's all about that extra 2%. How do we get that extra 2% of performance? Now, often we can look externally, which is we can look at time management plans. We can look at our team. We can look at strategy. We can look at all of these things, but often we don't look at inside and what is actually happening inside. Now, this is where we get into the concept of motivation, and we can talk about towards motivation, away from motivation, all of those things. But if we look at it at a deeper level, at a really, really deep level, what's going on behind the scenes? What is the internal dialogue? What is the internal experience that is happening? And as we start to kind of chunk all the way down, what I look at is what is the unconscious stories that are playing over and over and over again? Because these stories can kind of move us in the direction that we want, or they can keep us stationary, or they can keep us at a certain level. And this is where we can start to look at things like self-image. And self-image, if you look at it, the base level of the self-image is all of the unconscious stories. The unconscious stories that we tell ourselves, then they fundamentally turn into belief systems. If we keep telling the same story over and over and over again, a belief system is a generalization. Or if you think of a table, and you've got the belief, which is a tabletop, and the more references or the more legs that we have on that table, the stronger the belief. Now, the more belief systems that we have that are similar, they can turn into values. And all of this stuff, if we bring it together, is our self-image. Now, our self-image will determine everything. It will determine how much we earn. It will determine the people that we attract. It will determine our health, every aspect of our life. And the really interesting thing is that we often will not outperform our self-image. And you may have experienced this before, where maybe you've achieved something that is out of the norm, and it's not consistent with your normal experience. And so then what happens is that you go into kind of like a sabotage, and that sabotage will get you back to what your unconscious normal experience is. And it could be trading, for instance, and you make a whole heap of money trading, and then over the next period, you then start to sabotage and you get back to that same position. Or it could be in your business where you start to have record months, and then something happens, you start to go into sabotage, and then you get kind of back to the same position. Or it might be on a personal level with your savings, and you get to the point where you've saved more money than you've ever saved, and suddenly there is this unconscious desire to go and spend, and then suddenly you're back at the same level over and over again. It also happens around health. It might be that you lose a whole heap of weight and you're really, really kind of fit, and then suddenly there's this story that starts to play that, oh, I want that food, or I want that lifestyle, or whatever it is. I've been really, really good. I deserve this. And suddenly you're back in that experience that is the unconscious norm. And the same happens in relationships. It could be that you may have attracted someone that you think is so above you, and then all of your kind of patterns start to come in, and you start to sabotage that experience because your self-image isn't connected to that specific result. Okay, now the reverse happens as well. Like, imagine this: you're earning $100,000 a year in a position, your boss turns around and says, you know what, we're going to change your contract. You're going to be earning $60K, and you're going to do the same role. Now, what's going to happen? Naturally, you're going to go, well, I'm worth more. I'm going to leave and get back to what you're congruently, or what your self-image believes it's worth, if you will. So the self-image is really, really important. And now the first step, what we've really got to start to do is identify, well, what is your self-image? And we can look at this by going, okay, what are the results? What are the results that we're getting around health, relationships, business, career? And look at all of this, because your results are an indicator of your unconscious belief systems. And if we look below those unconscious belief systems, then we start to see what the stories are. So the first thing is we want to be aware. We want to do what we in NLP call a detailed personal history, where we can uncover all of the belief systems, all of the values, all of the unconscious stories that are playing over and over and over again. Now, the challenge is it's very hard to do this on yourself. You can do it, absolutely. And we have questionnaires and all those types of things, meta-model questionnaires that we can give you. You guys can get in contact with us if you want this type of experience. Sit down with any of my coaches. That's kind of what the first session that we do is a detailed personal history. But what we want to uncover is, what are your unconscious values? In fact, what's your hierarchy? What's your hierarchy of values in business, career, health, relationships? What's your life values? What do you believe about life? Okay, and we want to identify, okay, what are the values? What are the top 5 values in each area? What are the top 5 values in life? What are the belief systems that are underneath those values? Are they towards belief systems, or are they moving towards what you want? Or are these belief systems away from belief systems? And away from belief systems are things like, I don't want to be broke, I don't want to be alone, I don't want to be rejected, all of those things. But underneath those belief systems is the stories. And the stories are what kind of give us fuel. And when I look at performance, that's what I really want to dig deep on. I want to look at, well, why is someone in this business? Or why is someone doing this sport? Why is someone in this relationship? And what are they wanting to get? What is the higher purpose of this? And often we can look at these stories, and sometimes what I find is that we're telling ourselves stories, and these stories aren't going to get us what we want. They're only going to get us to a certain level. And this is where we can have what I call a true target, where our stories are aligned and you've got clarity, or we can have a false target that we think we need to get this, and this, and then suddenly I'm going to get the love that I want, or the freedom that I want, or the wealth that I want, whatever it is. And sometimes we've wired those stories in a way that we're never actually going to achieve. And this can be why often I can be working with someone and they keep hitting that ceiling of performance and not going to the next level, because their stories, their unconscious stories, not their conscious stories, their unconscious stories aren't congruent to the next game. So the stories are the key. And this is kind of my disruption session for this week, is to let's look at those stories. Let's look at those unconscious stories and create some awareness around them, and start to dig deep and look at it and go, well, are these stories kind of having me be at effect? And effect is that I'm powerless. I'm putting the power outside of myself, okay? Or are these stories at cause? Are these stories aligned? Are these stories, these unconscious stories, going to get me actually what I want? And so that's kind of the disruption session for this week. Now, if you'd love help with this, we certainly can help you. If you wanted to have a session with one of my coaches, I'm happy to give you that complimentary. All that you need to do is contact our 1-800 number, 1-800-552-168. And for the next month, you guys can have, I'll allow some sessions if you want to book a complimentary session in. Also, you would know we run a whole heap of free events. And the free events are great because you're around a community, a group of people that are on kind of the same jump, whatever it is, whether it's kind of breaking out of your health or breaking out of your relationships or breaking out into, a new business or finding passion in your career. And it's a wonderful experience to do that with people, because you feed off everyone's energy. And especially in my training, Live It Now, we set you up in teams. And what's so interesting about that course is that when you're in these teams, you have reflections. And so, as you would probably know, there are certain people in life that piss you off. And often in Live It Now, you get that reflection. Like your mum and dad are on that team, or your grandparents or your boss or whatever it is. Not literally, but kind of metaphorically. And the patterns are there. And so what happens is that when you increase the pressure or you increase the intensity, what we start to see is the unconscious patterns pop up. Now, without the intensity, you probably wouldn't see those unconscious patterns. Now, the unconscious patterns are the things that we want to pay attention to, and then look below that and look at, well, what are the unconscious stories that are driving those patterns? Because the minute we create awareness around this, it starts to shift. And if you think about that, there is what we know in life. There's a whole heap of stuff that you know about yourself, okay? Then there is a whole heap of stuff that you don't know, okay? You know that you don't know about yourself. Okay, so you know about yourself that you have a certain set of belief systems. You know that you're getting a certain specific result. You also know that maybe you don't know a whole heap of things about health or relationships or business, but you know that you don't know them. What gets us into trouble is the stuff that we don't know that we don't know. That's the stuff that holds us back around our finances, our business, our career, our health, our relationships, our spiritual development. It is the don't know that I don't know. And often those patterns go cross-contextual. Now, what do I mean? Is often, like when I'm helping people grow, say, their business, sometimes the patterns actually are showing up in their relationships. And if I fix it in their relationships, then their business starts to grow. Or conversely, you might think that the issues are around your relationships, but then we uncover it, and what we find is the patterns are actually around your finances or around self-worth, if you will. And suddenly we improve that, then everything starts to improve. But what's really interesting is that what underpins all of that stuff is the stories. And that's really what Live It Now is great for, is to increase the pressure so that we can start to bring to consciousness what was previously unconscious and start to really look at those unconscious stories and start to change those stories, which really kind of drives you to live it now. It has you become present. It has you start to get clarity. It has you start to create a new story. And this is really what this is about, is how do we get out there and turn these old stories, which could be looked upon as wounds, and turn them into our superpowers and really start to get out there and make the most of the time that we've been given. The challenge is that sometimes those stories, they keep us unconscious. And it's not often that we wake up. Often we wake up in a crisis, and then we start to examine things because there is intensity, and we often change with either intense positivity or intense negativity. And so this is what I kind of set up, because I believe that we only really tap into our true potential when we're tested. And that's what Live It Now is all about, is actually, setting you up in an environment where you are going to be tested, where you are going to do an audit on yourself, examine these stories so that we can create some new stories that will help you get out there and really create your future. And that's what my company's name is, Your Future Now. And so we'd love you to come along to Live It Now, liveitnow.com.au if you wanted a free ticket for that program. We've also got a VIP ticket option now, and you can get a copy of my book, a copy of our planning system. You can get the routine app that has my daily kind of routine that we do in Ultimate Life Recharge. And obviously we feed you, so you got the VIP ticket on that. Also, I've got the Troublemakers Disruption Tour. If you're an entrepreneur and you'd like to get disruptive, come along to our one-day Troublemakers Disruption Tour, and you can check that out at our website, thetroublemakers.com.au. Or for all of this stuff, check out my personal site, and you can get access to all of these disruption sessions, and that is mattcatling.com. So MATTCATLING, mattcatling.com, for all of the next events that I'm going to be presenting there's a link to Live It Now, there's a link to the Disruption Tour, and there's access to podcasts, videos, all of those different things. But most importantly, what I would say to you is do something different. And that's what these disruption sessions are about, is to disrupt the norm and to get out there and play life in a different way. And the first disruption really is disrupting your internal patterns, your internal stories. So get out there, create some awareness around these stories, and create some new stories that are going to take your life to the next level. I hope you enjoyed today's disruption session, everybody. I hope to see you soon in future events. Thank you.